Welcome to the Happy Lawyer Project. I'm your host, Akoma Moronu, and I created this show to help lawyers find happiness in life with a law degree. Together with my guests, we provide the knowledge, skills, insight, and inspiration that you need to find your happy. Hey there, lawyers. So I hope everyone's summer is going really, really well. In these parts, we are keeping super busy, still trying to do all of the things. Basically, it's been a really crazy summer for us. My little sister just got married last weekend, which was so much fun, but ended up taking up so much more of my emotional bandwidth than I had really planned for. So I've been trying to give myself more grace around that and all the things that have kind of fallen through the cracks as a result. And I am really ramping up for the release of my first book, which will be in a couple of weeks. So that's really exciting. In the background, still working on renovating the house in Costa Rica and all of that kind of fun stuff. So keeping super busy. I'd love to hear what you guys are up to. I'm hearing from some of you on Instagram, but I would love to hear from more of you because you guys are doing such amazing, inspiring projects. And it's so fun for me to hear more about those things. On to today's show. I was super interested in talking to today's guest, Chris Mullins, because she has over 25 years of sales experience and she specializes in helping law firms increase their conversion rates. So as a junior attorney, like a first, second, third year, I hated the phone. I mean, I would really be overcome with a sense of dread when that phone would ring because I hated that feeling of being caught off guard and not knowing what to expect and not knowing whether I would get tongue-tied trying to sound like a competent adult. Spoiler, I always got tongue-tied and I rarely sounded competent. But things have changed, they're much better, and these days I'm so much more confident in my ability to just navigate my way through any conversation and at the very least sound confident and competent. Even if I don't know the answer, I'm good at knowing how to tell people that I may not know and that I'll get back to them or kind of BSing my way through the conversation if necessary. That being said, I still much prefer to negotiate or have really tough conversations in person or by email. I'm not sure what it is about the phone that still isn't my favorite form of communication. So enter Chris Mullins. Chris really specializes in helping lawyers and their teams convert those phone call prospects into real-life profitable clients. Basically, if you're getting calls into your firm and into your practice about what you're doing and you're not converting those people into clients, Chris helps sort out what you're doing wrong and creates strategies and systems around higher conversion. So whether you're a solo practitioner looking for a better strategy of turning those incoming calls into paying clients, or you're an associate at the law firm trying to figure out how to develop a book of business, Chris's tips will not just help you improve your confidence around selling your expertise, but it will have actual impact on your conversion rate. Best of all, Chris even includes a really great free offer at the end of the show. So for those of you who are scared of sales and those of you who love sales, I hope you all hang tight, take a listen, because I think there's so much to learn from this episode. Enjoy! Welcome to the Happy Lawyer Project, lawyers. I have a very interesting show for you guys tonight, and I'm really excited to introduce you to today's guest, Chris Mullins. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Chris, before we get started, I would love if you could just share a brief description of who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay, so Chris Mullins, I'm known as the phone sales doctor, and my business is Law Firm Conversions. And what we do is we coach and train intake sales specialists to convert more prospects to clients.
So from that already, I feel like people are going to be like, how in the world did you get into that area? Because I mean, I know that you've been doing this for over 25 years now, but how did it all begin?
So I started my own business 25 years ago. And before that, I was in the newspaper business for 10 years. I was a receptionist. And then I moved up to inside sales and outside sales and a call center and all the way up to publisher. And then I thought I was really hot stuff. So I figured I would just quit my job cold turkey and start my own business with no business plan, which I don't recommend. And I thought, you know what? I've been doing phone sales all the time in the newspapers. I might as well teach newspapers how to do phone sales, as a consultant and a trainer. Newspapers were not really a good market for me. So with the internet, I got a lot of fantastic leads, a lot of corporate type leads, like Blue Cross Blue Shield and casinos and hospitals, all kinds of bigger businesses. And what I found when I was teaching and coaching those businesses is that they all had call recording systems in place. They were already recording their prospect calls. And the idea is they're supposed to listen to those calls and monitor so they can coach their team to do a better job. But they never, ever got around to listening to the calls. So I was at a crossroads with them. I taught them everything in sales that I knew I could teach them. And the one missing piece was they had to listen to their calls. So I drove to Radio Shack in the town that I live in. I bought a cassette player. I bought some cassettes and an adapter. I had the Radio Shack geeks on the spot show me how to record a phone call. And they said, oh, you could just go home and do it. I said, no, I want you to show me right here, right now. So we called my house and I learned how to record a phone call. And I began myself solo doing mystery calls, prospect mystery calls to my clients because they wouldn't listen to their own calls. And I would ship cassettes of recorded calls of their team to their office. And then fast forward, I ended up being in some mastermind groups and some conferences, and some lawyers were in there and they knew what I was doing. And before you knew it, I was focusing specifically on law firms and intake sales specialists listening to their call recordings.
That is so fascinating. I wonder, what do you think that is, that why people don't listen to those calls?
They don't think it's important enough. The biggest mistake they make is when they finally realize, okay, we should listen to our calls, they'll get a supervisor, they'll hire somebody, or they'll promote one of their best people from within to supervisor. And the initial idea is we're going to get them to listen to those calls. But they pile so many other tasks on them. They give them so many other responsibilities, reports, and all kinds of things that they never, ever get to actually listen to the calls. So the top leaders, the senior level executives, they really haven't bought into the value and the importance of listening to the calls.
That's so interesting. To me, I find it kind of akin to the fact that I sometimes have, and this is slightly different, but I sometimes have people who I really want on the podcast, and we go back and forth, and I get so close to getting them on the podcast, and then I get busy or something happens and I don't make that final ask. And I know, I have a list. I have a list of people who are like, oh, reach out to me in May or reach out to me at the end of July. And then for some reason, May comes and June comes and I just don't do it, even though I did all the legwork up until that point. And I just, for some reason, closing the sale doesn't happen for me. And I feel like there's a similar mindset issue going on there.
Yeah, there could be. I mean, not everybody is comfortable with asking for the sale, doing all the legwork and everything, and that's all organizational skills. But when it comes for asking for the sale, some people are afraid of rejection.
And I think for a lot of people, it's not even the first ask, because I think I'm very comfortable with the first and second ask. It's that third or fourth, when people are like, not right now, sometimes I hear a no when it's a maybe later.
Right, exactly.
So there's a lot of lingo associated with sales and marketing. And I know that people on this call who are lawyers, we call it business development. We call it client development. There's lots of things we don't call it sales and marketing, because we don't like those words. But let's dive into it. For people who don't really know, what's the difference between sales and marketing?
Well, I mean, marketing is really attracting clients that you want. And you do that by having good sales copy. So there I am using the word sales. So you have to have good sales copy, a good copywriter. Maybe that's you, maybe not. And just put together ads so that you can attract the right kind of clients that you want. That's marketing. And sales is really closing the deal, converting a qualified prospect to a client. That's what sales is.
It's so interesting that you say that, because now that I'm in-house and I'm the client, the number of people who take me to lunches or, you know, invite me to their law firm events, but then never actually sell me. I've just now realizing they've never actually come to me and said, this is what we can do for you. We want your business, you know?
Yeah, right, right. You don't
Yeah.
want to be afraid to ask.
It's like people think that because I know that they're there, I'll ask if I need them. But the reality is that I'm so busy in my own world with my own existing counsel and things like that, that I'm just not going to think of a new counsel unless someone says to me, oh, we see you have this problem. We have an expert in this area. This is how we can help you solve your problems. Then I would be like, yes, 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 please come help me. But for me to do that work is just not going to happen.
Right, exactly.
So you talk about law firm conversions for people. I mean, for those who are in the entrepreneurial world or who are, have their solo practice, they may have heard the term conversion before. But for people who are kind of at law firms and are being asked to kind of get clients for the first time, what is a conversion?
Basically, it's taking that prospect, that consumer that called your office for help, and listening to what they have to say and having some screening questions available, some qualifying questions available that you know that you need to ask in order to qualify if this person is someone that you can help. And then once you've determined, yes, I can help this person, they are qualified for me to take care of them and to counsel them, then you want to convert them from a prospect from that moment into the next moment, which would be a client. That's all conversion is.
You make it sound so simple. But the reality is that you're not going to have 100% conversion rate, right? Not everybody who calls is going to become a client. What, in your estimation, is a good conversion rate? And kind of what affects a conversion rate?
Well, I think the conversion rate, it's different for every law practice because it really depends on how you're running the practice, the marketing that you're doing, the volume of the marketing you're getting. So, but I would say 90% is a good conversion rate. There certainly are law firms that are doing 40 and 50%, and they can certainly do better than that if they just focus more on conversion and intake. But 90% is a good conversion rate.
That sounds so astronomically high to me.
Yeah. But it can be done as long as you focus on it.
And is that because you're getting qualified leads? Like when they call, there's already like an initial screening through the marketing process. So the people who are calling already know what you do and they're a good fit.
Yeah. If you're really good at the marketing piece, or you have somebody else that's really good at the marketing piece with the copywriting, and you're designing your copy to attract the exact type of clients that you want, then that does some screening for you. And then when they raise their hand and they call your office, think about it. They're calling you for help. You didn't knock on their door on a Sunday morning unannounced and bother them. They're calling you because they're ready. So they're like double qualified now. So now all you have to do is ask your qualifying questions, your screening questions to them to determine if you can really help them at your firm, and then just go ahead and ask for the sale and schedule that appointment with them. Say the first available appointment I have is at 3:00 today, and then be quiet and don't say another word.
That's the hard part. I think people, that silence, that opportunity for them to make a decision, sometimes people jump in too soon.
Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about picking up the phone and making that sale. And by the time they call you, and I think that that's a really good point, especially in this day and age, when you call someone, when you pick up the phone and call someone for their service, it's because you need that service. Because it's so easy not to make that phone call. It's so easy to Google something on the internet or try to DIY it. So by the time you're calling a law firm for help, you've already decided you want to pay for help. And I am a elder millennial, but like many millennials, I am not a huge fan of the phone.
Yeah. Okay.
In my practice, I would never pick up my phone ever. I still don't ever pick up my phone, but I'm an in-house counsel. So it's not like my business phone. You know what I mean? I mean, if I look at my voicemails right now, I could tell you I have 86 voicemails that I have not listened to. And a friend of mine, it's so funny, she recently posted on Instagram stories asking, what's one thing that should be easy that you're terrible at? And the number one response was talking on the phone.
Yeah.
And so I would be interested in kind of your thoughts on how you get people comfortable with the idea that the phone is the way to go when it comes to
Yeah.
sales.
You know what? It's really no different than everyday communication. So, I mean, we can talk about it with regards to sales, but it's even just everyday communication. We're getting so far away from the phone, even in our personal lives. So, however you want to look at it, the reasons that you want to use the phone is because it's about building relationships. Again, in your business, when you're asking for the sale, when you're talking with your client, when you're talking with your prospect, and even in your personal life, it's about relationships. It's about love, care, and concern. It's about intimacy. It's about trust. It's about understanding the story of the person that you're speaking to. And again, this is about, you can apply this to your personal and your professional career. It's about knowing how that person really, truly, truly, really feels by just hearing their voice and the tone of their voice at that very, very moment.
It's so important. And I think being an audio format show, audio format content, and somebody who personally loves listening to podcasts, somebody who loves listening to audiobooks, that really resonates with me. And I just want to highlight that I think for some people, especially those who work with corporate clients, sometimes we forget that the client is still a person, and that person still has all those qualities. And so even though you may be representing a small or large business, the person you're serving is still an individual, and that individual has concerns and issues and emotions around the problem that they're coming to you to help solve. And so to be able to get on the phone with that person and really talk through that problem and reassure them that you're the person to help them through that problem can be very powerful.
Yeah, and let me just say something else, though, too, that when a prospect calls you, they don't want to call you. They did not want to call a law firm. The law firm is the last on their list. They don't like law firms and they don't trust law firms. And most of us know this, and it's not personal. So when they call you, they are really, really, really ready. And so you don't want to do anything that would make them feel even more like they shouldn't like or trust the law firm by not speaking to them on the phone.
I won't take offense, but yes, agreed. So what are some of the phone techniques? You talked about training intake, what did you call them? Admins?
Intake sales specialists.
Intake sales specialists. And so what kind of training do you give them to convert prospects?
So we teach them a 5-step relationship sales conversion script without sounding scripted, because we don't believe in sounding scripted. But the most important piece is identifying the emotional pain of that individual that they're speaking to. And so one of the easiest ways to do that, after Mrs. Smith calls and says what she's calling for, and you get her name, you ask permission to ask questions before you start asking your screening questions, because you're entering into a level of intimacy now when you're asking screening questions. But before you ask those screening questions, you say, so tell me, Mrs. Smith, what is it that got you to decide to give our office a call today? Question mark, pause, wait for the answer. So you're trying to identify her emotional pain, her personal motivator, her decision-making factor on what got her to decide today was the day to call the law firm for help. This problem she's had has been going on for weeks, months, maybe even years, but today she called. So what happened in her universe to make her do that today?
And why is that question so important to have up front?
Well, because you can really understand how important it is to her. You'll understand how she makes decisions, and you can repeat back to her a few times during the conversation. You can weave right back to her exactly what she said and customize the conversation to what she said her emotional pain was that got her to call today. And when you do repeat it back to her, especially with a sense of urgency, she's going to realize, wow, this person really is listening to me. They really care. They're not like the other 3 law firms that I've already called. This person is totally different.
That makes sense to me. So then what's the next question?
The last most important question is we call it the verbal contract. And so it's towards the end of the phone call, before you hang up, you say to Mrs. Smith, you say, so Mrs. Smith, your appointment is at 3:00 today. If for any reason you're running behind, would you just please promise to give me a call? Question mark, pause, wait for the answer. Wait for her to answer you. Not a verbal contract if she doesn't answer back. And she will answer yes. And the reason that question is so important at the end of the call is you're getting her to make a commitment that she will call you if she can't make the appointment or if she's running late, which we would rather have than have a no-show. But also, you're demonstrating that you're different from the other law firms that she called. Just by using the word promise, she's realizing, wow, this law firm they're really serious about me. They really want me to come in. They really feel this is very important. And the other thing is, most of us were brought up when we were kids to, when you make a promise, you keep that promise. So most people, if they say yes to the word promise, they will keep their promise.
So the thing that's coming up for me, and I know is probably coming up for a lot of people listening, is a thing that probably comes up when people think about sales. What do you say to people who feel that it's manipulative?
Like, did you think that when I said the word promise?
That's where it came up for me, because that felt like, because I'm somebody who takes that word, to your point, when I hear promise, I'm like, okay, I'm like really committed.
Right, exactly. And that's what you want. You want them to be committed, but you also want them to know that you're taking it seriously. And your reaction to it is the same reaction that we get from our intake sales specialists as students. So when they first enter our program and we go through the script with them and that particular point, they feel the same thing that you feel. And so we have to coach them through it. So it's really about how you say it. It's about your voice and your tone and how you ask that question. So if you say, Mrs. Smith, your appointment's at 3:00 today. If for any reason you're running behind or you have a question, would you just promise to give me a call?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So if you do it like that, the right voice and the right tone,
it's not threatening.
Yeah, it's not threatening. It's not pushy. It's not aggressive, because we're not teaching sales the stereotypical dishonest type sales. We're teaching sales with integrity. But we focus a lot on relationships and the love, care, and concern that you want to deliver to a prospect when you're on the phone with them.
I appreciate that you said that, because I think that part of what brings it all together for me is if you truly believe you can help this person and that you can create value and that what you are doing, you're charging an honest price for honest work to solve a problem that they have, then selling them that product isn't scammy.
Right. You're exactly right.
But let's talk a little bit about the mindset part, because I do think there are these words that trigger people, and there is this feeling that people have around sales and about asking for things and about selling themselves. How much of a role do you think mindset plays, and how do you train people around the mindset piece?
I think mindset plays a really, really big role. And you really have to work on reframing how you think about sales with regards to the way you're doing it. You're not like all the other salespeople. There's good apples and there's bad apples, and you're not a bad apple. And so, the way you want to think of it is what you're doing is you're trying to help somebody. You're trying to help this person with whatever tragedy they're in the middle of. That's what you're doing. And you want to be grateful that you even have a phone call with them right now, that they even called you. So if your mindset can change to, I am grateful that I'm speaking to this person. I'm grateful they're giving me an opportunity to potentially help them, and that they're a human. They have a terrible thing going on in their life, and I have an opportunity to make a difference for them, then that's the way that you want to kind of position it for yourself. Thinking really about exactly what you're doing for this person, so that when you go to home and you put your head on your pillow at night, you can feel really good about the different people you communicated with to help them out of their tragedy. And at the end of the day, it turns out that that's conversion and sales. But at the heart of the matter, it's about love, care, and concern. You end up being their hero, and you feel grateful that they called you. And the other thing, too, is if you can change your mindset to think this way, you're going to take better care of yourself. You're going to think better of yourself as a lawyer, because you're going to realize that, yeah, I am in this business to be a hero. I am in this business to help people and to take care of them and for them to trust me. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think if you can't have a profitable business, if you don't have clients, you don't have profits. If you don't have profits, you can't serve anybody. So you need to make the sales. I think, and so we touched on this a little bit previously, but I know that there are those in my audience who really do have a lot of anxiety around phone conversations. Like they don't like it. They are unnatural. They feel caught off guard. Do you have any tangible advice for people who want to get better at it about kind of what they can do to help overcome that discomfort?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that you can do. I mean, one of the most important things that you can do is practice. And so you could record yourself in a recorder and just practice some of the things that you say over the phone to a prospect or to a client. You know, just come up with a scenario in advance, a script, if you will, and just practice like you're talking to that person on the phone, and then listen back to those recordings as often as you possibly can. First, when you listen back to the recordings, you're going to have to get past the discomfort of listening to your own recorded voice. Because I'll tell you right now, I could poke my eyeballs out. I can't stand listening to my recorded voice.
Oh my gosh. You sound great. I hate my own recorded voice, and I have a podcast. So
yeah, well, I do not like, I have to listen to myself, and I don't like it. So you got to get past that. But once you can get past that, there's nothing better than practicing on it as often as you possibly can. Even when you're in the car, just play the recording that you recorded. When you go to bed at night and you put your head on your pillow, just before you go off to the feather, just before you go to sleep, you've got your headphones on and you're listening to your recording of your scenario that you did, you know, playing prospect or playing client. That will really help you. So practicing is really important. The other is, I'm going to remind you and say it again, is to be grateful that you have the opportunity to speak on the phone with a prospect or client to help them and make a difference. The other thing is you can have a script, a real script without sounding scripted, because we don't believe in that. So look at it like a blueprint or an outline or a cheat sheet in front of you of what it is that you want to say, because that might make you feel a little bit better. And the other thing is you've got to trust your script. Look at your script like a life raft. It's not trying to control you. It's not trying to make you sound robotic, but it's your life raft, because when you get nervous and you get anxious, if you trust the points on your script and you just look at them, you can rely on them and get right back to where you need to be. And the biggest thing is, guess what? The caller doesn't know how you feel. So you feel anxious and have anxiety, just like I did when I used to speak on stage. But nobody in the audience knew how I felt inside of myself. The caller that you're speaking to has got a lot more on their mind than thinking about what you're saying and how you might be saying it and that you might have dry mouth. They're not even thinking about that. So they have no idea. It's only you that's thinking about it. So nobody's saying things about you or anything. And then the very last thing is just take one call at a time. Just focus on one call only, not any other calls that you have to do after that. Just one call, and then get off that call and take a deep breath, make some notes on what worked for you, what the opportunities are, and then go forward with the next call.
So what I really, really loved about that is that wasn't just a blueprint for attacking phone calls. That's a blueprint for attacking anything that scares you. Like that was literally step by step. You don't know how to do something. So what you do is you practice, you have gratitude to have the opportunity to do it. You create a plan that you don't take too seriously. You trust that plan, right? You be present in the moment. You recognize no one knows how you feel, and then you reflect and improve. Is that, I mean, that's basically like how to do life.
Yeah, you did great. That's terrific.
That's amazing. I love that so much. So I'm going to transition us to the next segment of the show, which we call the happiness hot seat. And this is just a quick fire round of questions that I kind of like to ask people because I'm very interested in how people handle things in their own lives. So first question, how do you deal with overwhelm?
It's taken a lot of years of practice, but I do a bunch of different things. And it really depends on how I feel at that moment when I'm feeling overwhelmed. What was it that made me get overwhelmed? So I breathe, I take in deep breaths. I try to stay focused and present, be there, be now, be in the moment, and really look at the reality of what is really going on. I write, I walk away, I do push-ups on my desk.
I love that.
Just right up against my desk, I'll do push-ups. I'll ask for help. I'll put my head down on my desk. I'll drink some water. I'll go out in nature. Those are the different things that I do.
I really like that because what I didn't hear in that was make a plan and just do a lot of things. You know what I mean? A lot of that was kind of managing the overwhelm, not managing the tasks.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, what do you do or how do you prioritize your own happiness?
So I work really hard still today, focusing on the good that I'm doing with intake specialists as a teacher. So I look at myself as a teacher and I really focus on the raw teaching methods that I have and the students as a human, not so much as an intake specialist, and the difference that I'm making in them and how they think and how they communicate and how they view themselves as an intake specialist. And then the difference that they're making in the life of the consumer, the prospect that they're talking to. So I work really, really hard to focus on the very raw truth of what I'm doing every day when I teach an intake specialist. And that makes me feel like I'm making a difference. That makes me feel really good.
That's great. Can you describe a mindset shift that changed your life?
Sure. So let's see. I think it might have been 5 years ago. For the very first time, I got a partner, a legal partner in my business. And what I should have done is trusted my inner voice because my inner voice said not to do it. And I didn't trust my inner voice and I made a mistake and I had to dissolve that relationship. So, trusting my inner voice is one of the biggest things that I've learned that makes a really big difference. And then the other thing too that I realized is I still do bicycle rides, but not as long distance, but I used to do like 87-mile bike rides or 100-mile bike rides. And I was always concerned with the fact that I knew I was going to be last in that race because I knew, just where I was in the race, I was alone out there on the roads. There was no other bikers around me, and there used to be a bunch of them. So I knew I was going to be last, and I would panic about being last because I'd be embarrassed and all these people would be at the finish line and I'd be coming in. But I realized during one of these bike races that, wait a second, it's not about competing with everybody else. I'm supposed to be competing with myself because last week I only did 50 miles and I'm doing 87 miles today. So it's okay if I compete with myself, and it's okay if I'm going to be the last winner.
So good. Can you name a book that has inspired you on your journey?
Yeah, the book I really liked was Steve Jobs' book. So I really enjoyed that book. I read it pretty fast. And yeah, that was my book.
I have not read that one, but I've heard people really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Last question. So you work with a lot of lawyers. I'm sure you interact with them all the time. What do you think separates happy lawyers from those lawyers who struggle to find happiness in life with a law degree?
I think the happy lawyers probably have designed a business to fit their lifestyle, and they've learned to work on their business instead of in their business. And I think lawyers who struggle to find happiness in life with a law degree are probably not yet looking at their firm as a real business and that it has to be designed around their lifestyle. And they probably haven't yet really realized and accepted the wonderful fact that they're really helping people. At the end of the day, you're not really in the legal business as much as you're in the relationships and healing business. And you're really helping people. So if you can kind of get your mindset in that frame of mind, then you can be more of the happy lawyer.
That's great. All right. So before we wrap up, I usually like to give my listeners an opportunity to ask a question. And so I posed the question out on Instagram stories, and I got a question from, I think his name is David. And he asks whether making a sale, like a second or third sale to a client, has a different formula than that first sale.
No, it's no different. You're selling the entire life of the relationship that you have with the client.
Interesting. So you don't think there's any difference in the way you approach the sale once you already have kind of a relationship with that customer?
No,
client?
You have to, the mindset that you want to have is that you're always selling, and you have to work just as hard for the next sale and the next sale as you did for the first sale. Because if you don't, you're going to get complacent and have a sense of entitlement, and you're going to think it's like really easy and everything's going to go your way. And that's not really the case.
I see. No, that's a fair point. And I think you see a lot of that when you want to continue to earn that client's business and for them to continue to feel valued in your company. Fantastic. So very last question. What is the best way for my listeners to learn more about what you're up to follow you? Give us your pitch before we wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, the absolute best thing that you could do is go to our website, and it's lawfirmconversions, that's plural, .com, lawfirmconversions.com. We have some blogs on there, and we post podcasts on there. And so that's the best way for you to keep in touch. And also, what's really cool when you go there is you can get a free mystery call of your office if you want. So it's very clear right there, right when you go to the homepage, you schedule a free mystery call and debrief with me, Chris Mullins. So we'll do a prospect mystery call of your office, and then I will play it for you on a phone call, and I will tell you what worked, and then I'll tell you what the opportunities were. And then I'll tell you exactly, step by step, what you need to do to fix anything that needs to be fixed.
That's an amazing free offer. And you also have a book of the same title, right? Law Firm Conversions?
Yeah, it's Law Firm Conversions, and it's like great marketing doesn't work if your prospects don't convert.
Awesome. And people can find the book on your website and wherever books are sold, or where can they pick up the book?
Website and Amazon.
Perfect. Awesome. And so I will put links to all of those things and all of those places on the website at thehappylawyerproject.com. So you guys can head over there if you're not near pen and paper right now. And if you have a law firm and you're not running to go get that free audit, that free call,
yeah,
crazy, because it's an amazing free offer. So thank you so much, Chris, for being on today.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you having me.
Thanks so much for listening. And if you got value out of this episode and you think there's someone else who might enjoy it, I'd love for you guys to share. And if you have any questions for me, please head over to the website at thehappylawyerproject.com, and you can leave me a voicemail right on the website. When you get there, you'll see a little tab on the right hand of the screen, and you can click on it and leave a voicemail there. I absolutely love hearing from you guys. Last but not least, if you enjoy this podcast and you like the content that I'm bringing to you guys and you haven't done so already, I would really encourage you guys to head over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a rating and review. That's all for this week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening.